Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to UNN. And this is UNN TV Live. You're with your host, Sophia Sebi. Welcome. I know we're slightly late, so I do apologize for that lateness. I hope you will forgive some technical issues, some issues around parenting, but never mind. I hope that you're all okay. I hope you've had a good week. I hope that God is keeping you well. I hope that you are amazing, you're brilliant, you're bright lights, and you're doing the best you can wherever you are, whatever you do. So, of course, as always, we start with just a reminder: share, like, and follow the page if you're new here. For those who will be watching again, welcome and good evening, and thank you for watching UNN Live. As you know, we're here for the revolution, and the revolution is within the self. I know that sometimes we think it's a lot to do with being from outside our environment, but the revolution starts with you, within, with us. Hence, the reason why I started this show. I wanted to let you know that the revolution starts with you. The revolution is about self purposeful action. This is the revolutionary spark. Your host, my name, Sophia Sebi. If you'd like to email, sophia at getunn.com. If you'd like to call, use the usual number, the main number that's on all the other shows. That's including Jacobo Chu, Get Off the Hook. That is Paul Chimbugwe. So if you do need to get in touch, but you can email or you can make the call from there and pass any information. Maybe someday soon we'll be able to interact via phone, where you'll be able to, give me your views or your comments by conversing, live on the show. But as of now, it is not practically possible to have a call in. So it's more about, I suppose, more about an education and more about dialogue. But I do see your comments. I do see your views. I value them and I welcome you all. So thank you very much for being on here. And this is the Revolutionary Spa. Like I say, is my name, Sophia Sebi. As you understand, this show is really not about politics. It's about the revolutionary journey. It's about mindset, our mindsets. So today's show is all about unresolved feelings or business. It is the war within. Our topic today, or our title today of the show, is about unresolved feelings, business, the war within. But before we go there, obviously, I want us to first of all start off the show in a positive mindset. First of all, we praise God, the Almighty, for enabling us to be present and continue to grant us with good health, that is, mind, body, and spirit. We pray for the love, courage, hope, and wisdom of those that have gone before us, present and yet to come. For those loved ones, especially those lost lives due to murder, torture, and any causation of their death by greedy leaders, those hospitalized or suffering from traumatic injuries, psychological and physical. And I know some of us are indeed suffering from these things. So I pray for us all, especially, those sustained from torture, inhumane treatment, from rape, domestic violence, and civil wars. Those that are wrongfully imprisoned, may they have a miracle that an angel visits to give them comfort, hope, and relief that their plight will soon be over. Of course, as always, we are grateful. We need to be grateful to each other. I am grateful to you all that are always showing up on UNN TV, that are always contributing, that are playing a big role, a part of this revolutionary journey that we're on. To the UNN team back and front of house, especially the producers and social media warriors, the UFCC chapters for the great discussions and analysis of the Uganda issues. Thank you. I thank all the hosts, Paul Chimbugwe, Madame Elizabeth, Mr. Desire, and the elders that come on here, Mr. Chintu and Mr. I'm not going to say the wrong names, but I am grateful for all the elders that give us their wisdom, teach us every day to be better versions of ourselves. So I hope that we all have our fives where we are able to teach each other and ourselves about the values of what we want to see in the revolutionized Uganda. So keep on keeping on, everybody, consistently and persistently remaining standing and serving your country. Special thanks to our elders, like I said, especially our our guest, Mr. Remigius Jintu, Mr. Henry Gombia. Thank you, and all those silently serving in the background, both in Uganda and the diaspora, playing your part for revolutionary change. Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. So let me go maybe to the comments and just to shout out to those who have joined us today. David Mugisha, thank you. I'm on Facebook, by the way, and all those on YouTube, you forgive me. I cannot be on different platforms, but I'm just going to go on the Facebook comments. David Mugisha, thank you. Asid Karunji, Agnes Akiki, thank you. Kato Tom, thank you. Siraj Ndaula, thank you. Busi Deco, thank you. Yes, and all of you who have not commented yet, but I can see that you're on there. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I do know, some of these faces or sorry, names that come up day in and day out. You're always presenting, you're always present. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for being on here. That is my gratefulness. That is I hope that for me serving here today and every other time that I'm on here, even if I'm not on every weekend, it does not necessarily mean that I am not in your thoughts, or you're not in my thoughts, that the Ugandan revolution is not in my thoughts. It is every day, because I would like to see a revolutionized Uganda. I would like to see a change. I would like to be able to enjoy my motherland, enjoy the sun, the lovely food, the fresh food, and stop eating from the freezer, stop eating from the fridge. So like you, I am dedicated to the change. That's why I come every day. That's why and on my own, and the team, we bring you the shows every time. So welcome to the Revolutionary Spa. Your host, Sophia Sebi. Today's topic is about unresolved feelings, business, and the war within. So now that we've gone through our prayer, our gratitude, I just like to give you a little bit of food for thought. My food for thought for this show today. Just a reminder about what you have learned this week, or these past few weeks, or this past year, or these past 2 years. What have you learned that you have put in action, that you have made your life's purpose, that you have made something to do with self-purposeful action? What have you done? My thing I have been attending, for instance, I mean, different things, but specifically, I have been attending a philosophy class for the past 10 weeks. I learned about finding balance. I understand that we must have light harmony with the activities that we do to regulate our emotions, to be able to be balanced individuals. Do you know when we were 2 years ago, when we were sort of, our emotions were high, we were not really thinking, we were not regulating our emotions, we were everywhere and anywhere, we were panicking. That is the time of the elections. So for me, at this stage, it's about evaluating where we've been and where we are now, and how are we going to tackle the next stage of the revolution. Just like the genocide, where genocide takes 10 stages, it goes through those different stages. I don't know if you've researched 10 stages of genocide. I have talked about it before, but please do your research. You can Google 10 stages of genocide, and it will be able to show you how you go in and out of those stages. So where are we now in the revolution? And the people that we're trying to, I suppose, I don't know, not necessarily fight, but we're trying to ask that we actually now want our freedom back. We don't have to go into physical fights. We don't have to take up the gun necessarily, but we must stand up straight and show up and say, we want our freedom back. We're here to stay. We're not going anywhere until we have our power back. And we can do this through our actions, through a change of mindset. When we change the mindset, when we change our perception of the way we see the world, indeed miracles do happen, and we transform, we transfigure. And that is what the revolution means: transfiguration, transforming, just like the butterfly from a caterpillar into this beautiful butterfly. We too are in those stages where we are ready to transform, to transfigure, to be different from what we were before, to be different from what we were yesterday, from what we were the year before, from what we are becoming. We're taking on a new form. Our perception and our mindset is transforming. So when you put yourself in balance, whereby you no longer jump to every single thing that you see going making rounds on social media, when you don't jump to conclusions, when you don't make haste decisions about the things that you support, you don't follow every Tom, Dick, and Harry, you become balanced. You have emotional intelligence. And therefore, when you have that balance, you are able to achieve your full potential, because circumstances, things going on around you, because your transformation from within is strong enough to help you be resilient, to help you hold firm, be strong, for you to realize your full potential. So we're here as a collective, making sure that we're realizing our full potential of becoming a revolutionized generation. We no longer want substandard services. We no longer want substandard leaders. We no longer want the politicians, but we want leaders who are working for us, our environment, working for the betterment of your child, yourself, you, your grandchild, your children's children, the generation to come. We want sustainable change. It is no longer about jumping for every leader that comes, being sort of having this sensationalism. Someone says jump and you say how high. No, you ask, if you're asking me to jump, have you jumped yourself? Have you jumped? Food for thought. This revolution is not just a Ugandan one, but a worldwide. The revolution is not just a Ugandan one, but a worldwide revolution. So wherever you are, question everything. Don't accept what you are told, but do your research. Like we have seen previous weeks and the previous ones and the previous ones, when we've seen our previous programs about Sri Lanka, for instance, the revolution, we have seen the Netherlands where they're having a lot of revolution in terms of the farmers, and everyone is going on the streets. We've seen Australia, everyone is going through change. So it's not just a Ugandan revolution; it is a revolution happening everywhere. So whilst you're wanting the Ugandan revolution, pay attention to everything going on around you. The case of being in balance, having balance, for you to be able to have that balance, you also maybe before I go there, if we can have this video, if we can have this video, then we'll go into a break and bring our national anthem. But if we can have this video of the previous president of United States, maybe it will tell you a little bit about the revolution being a revolution worldwide and not just Uganda. Let's have a look and then come back.
Climate crisis hoax is even risking famine and starvation. As we speak, farmers in the Netherlands, of all places, are courageously opposing the climate tyranny of the Dutch government. Can you believe this? Which wants to dramatically cut Dutch farm production despite growing food shortage. They're saying you can't farm your land. We're not going to give you fertilizer. You have to get rid of the cattle. You know why, right? You know why? I won't tell you because they'll say, I said something, isn't that terrible? They want to get rid of the cattle because what it does to the globe. Half of your cattle they want out. You'll be next. You'll be next. In our movement, we stand against the climate fanatics. We stand with the peaceful Dutch farmers who are bravely fighting for their freedom. It's horrible what's happening.
Yes, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm not sure if you've had clearly, but he's talking about the Dutch farmers from Netherlands who have been sort of protesting because there's sort of this agenda about food shortages. As we have seen our brothers and sisters in Karamoja, where they have had food shortages, and you wonder whether this is intentional. Before I go into that, let's have our national anthem, then I come back. But before I have the national anthem, I just want to just say thank you to Busi Deco here, Luboyela Edward, Emmanuel Mwebe, Sarah Daisy, Jacqueline Jackie, Stage Kabizi. Thank you for being on here. Tugume Julius, Rehema Gisa, thank you for being on here. And this is the Revolutionary Spa. Karunji Agnes Akiki, I think I've already said hi. And everybody on all the other platforms, our radio, our YouTube, our Twitter, our website, getunn.com/TV, I believe. You know all the links if you go on our page, and you'll be able to watch from anywhere from radio. I don't believe we're in radio, but Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So let's go into our national anthem. I come back, then we go into the crux of the show, the depth of this show. This is the Revolutionary Spa, your host, Sophia Sebi. Thank you.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our together we'll always stand. Oh, Uganda, the land of freedom, our love and labor we give, and with neighbors all at our country's calling, peace and friendship.
Welcome back. Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. Indeed, may God uphold thee. So, like I was saying, what did you learn this week, this month, this year that has contributed to the revolutionary self? When I say revolutionary SPAR, it means revolutionary self-purposeful action. But before I go, Dub Trevor, I say hello. Abdullah Latif Chiemba, I say hello. And everybody else who has just joined us. This is the Revolutionary SPAR. It's your host, Sophia Sebi. Today's topic is about unresolved feelings, business. You can say unresolved feelings or business, the war within. The show is not like the other shows. This is mainly around our mindset, around ourselves, the self. We need to change the self in order to change the things around us, to change our perception of the world. I know that we have a lot of past experiences that have impacted on the way we see the world. We have a lot that we have gone through from our childhood, from the environment around us, from our upbringing that has impacted on the way we see the world. We have been less confident to stand up to those that infantilize us, to those that tell us we are not good enough. We do not deserve the best of the best. And this shows in our environment, for instance, the healthcare system, the social care system we receive, the education system that we receive, the environment in terms of infrastructure. Somebody else has told us we are not good enough to be, to be worth fighting for, to live in a nice environment. And we have to be subjected to substandard services. So what have you learned over the past 2 years that we have been here, coming every day to share our knowledge, and you sharing your knowledge, whatever you have learned over the years? What have you learned? Have you taken inventory of what the things that you have learned? Are you intentional about what you want to learn and what you don't want to learn? So this is the purpose of this show. It's about self-purposeful action. In the news this month or the past month, we saw our brothers and sisters in Karamoja battling famine, and I'm sure it's still ongoing. I hope, like me, you too are saddened by the avoidable loss of life we experience. So imagine if our brothers and sisters are going through this sort of situation. How do you think they're going to be able to even think about revolutionizing the mindset? Remember, like Maslow's hierarchy. When we go to the next slide, Maslow's hierarchy tells us that you need to be able to satisfy the levels below, and the levels from below are around physiological levels. You need to be able to satisfy your food, having a warm bed. But if you don't have food and a warm bed, how are you going to feel secure to be able to go on to the next safety, the next level? In order for us to be the best versions of ourselves and to perform to our peak as God desired it to be, we need to have met the basics. And the basics are around health, food, shelter. So if you don't have food, water, shelter, rest, sleep, clothing, reproduction, how are you going to move to the next level of feeling secure and having security? How are you going to have a sense of belonging and love? And this is about family, the sense of connection, the identity. When you think about stripping you of your tribe or your title or your identity and being given a blanket identity, for instance, like not being an indigenous Ugandan, but Uganda's, nationality as in East African. If you don't have friendships, intimate relationships, you cannot satisfy the level 2 and level 3 and level 4, for instance, the self-esteem, until the fifth level. Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us that in order for us to be at our peak, to perform to our best self, we need to be able to self-actualize, and that is having achieved, in order for us to achieve a full potential, to be able to be present in discussing our, things like where we are now, the revolution, changing the rest of our environment, our, culture, or changing our country. You cannot expect the people of Karamoja, indeed, to be able to be involved in the change that we want to see in Uganda, because they're trying to get through day by day. I saw really heartbreaking videos of elderly sleeping on a plastic sheet in a hut, and a hut wouldn't be a problem, but look at the way they were sleeping, and we think that is okay, and someone throws away food, someone eats until they're full and give to the dogs. We must do better than that. We must care for thy neighbor. We must be willing to give up ourselves to live for others. And I think this is so lacking in our communities. So how do we expect to change the top level when the layer below is unchanged? Because we are building on shaky ground. We cannot be building on shaky ground and think that we will have a sustainable and long-lasting legacy in building the revolution that we want to see. This is just my opinion. If you don't think that this is the case, then of course it's not enforced on you by any means. But I am proposing, these are the psychological thoughts, perspectives. I am coming from that thought, or that philosophical thought and psychological thought, or through education. I just want to propose, consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you are saying, maybe you're blaming your neighbor, maybe you're blaming the Ugandans back home, why aren't you doing enough? Consider where they are on this pyramid. Because it is not psychologically possible And I probably, most likely, I agree with Maslow's hierarchy that it is not physically and psychologically possible to think of safety security. When we talk about safety security, it's about, do we have enough finances? Do we have a good home? Do we have enough, like our neighborhood, is it safe? We are still on level one, physiological, where we're just trying to get through day by day toil. How then are we going to be thinking at safety? How then are we going to be even thinking about love, belonging? You know very well, anyone watching here, wherever you are, if you're in the diaspora, and most likely, most of you are in the diaspora, you know very well, you feel secure when you have a home, when you have food, when you have safety. You feel secure because you have safety. You're able to love. You have time to be able to look for love, to look for belonging. Your self-esteem is much higher than maybe perhaps you were when you were back home. So every time before you make judgment as to what are our brothers and sisters doing, they're sleeping or they're doing this and that, consider Maslow's hierarchy. This is just food for thought, just so we don't run away from ourselves and forget that maybe perhaps we were there in the same position before. Anyway, this month, I just want to dedicate this show to the people of Karamoja. And I hope that myself and you all, we can really, truly do something, whatever little that you can do to contribute to the people, to our brothers and sisters who are battling with famine. Because it is really avoidable loss of life. We experience every day on a disproportionately large scale. In a land of plenty with natural rains, sun, minerals, people are still dying of famine. With a lot of food waste all over Uganda, we people are still dying of hunger. With improved technology, babies and children are still dying of hunger. If this is not intentional, then it must be a curse. My question to you is, do you think it is intended or just a tragedy? It's rhetoric. Maybe it is. Just like you've seen Donald Trump in that video talking about the Netherlands, where there's intentional and systemic way of stopping the farmers from continuing to grow. Everybody is going to be blaming the war. Anyway, my second point of something that I have learned this week or this past couple of months, it was about WHO declaring monkeypox a public health emergency of international concern. Have you heard? Well, this was in, I believe, Uni News, and it was July 23rd. It declared monkeypox a public health emergency. How is it in wherever you are of international concern? Are you concerned? Should we be afraid or fearful? I don't know. Like I said, the revolution is not just the Ugandan one. It is worldwide. And how about the cost of living being high? How has it affected you wherever you are? When you hear inflation, what does it mean to you? I mean, to me, it means that our incomes can no longer go far in terms of buying our necessities. I know for sure I have been impacted by inflation because the my pay take home, I'm still an employee, but my pay take home is disproportionately lower than it was a month ago. More taxes just under the name of the inflation. So wherever you are, do you think it directly impacts you or not? So what are you doing about it? Are you working more hours? And do you think working more hours will resolve it? Well, in my views, I think again, this may not be the solution. Working more hours, just being enslaved to the job. Maybe this is what exactly they want us to do. Be enslaved to the job, that we don't have time to think about being creative, being producers. So anything that takes away our time is not likely to make us wealthy or rich. Remember, it's not how hard you work, it's how smart you work. Because instead, we become enslaved by the job. Have you heard the term own nothing and be happy? Does it have a connection with what we are going through right now, where you've got the COVID or the now the monkeypox, where you've got inflation, where you've got famine, food shortages? Is it systemic? Is it intentional? Well, the politicians and those in positions of power keep going on about the causes of inflation, the lockdown, this and that, the war in Ukraine has done this and has done it. But is it? Is it? Remember, question everything. So don't believe everything you hear. Check your truth. Facts can be made up too, as well. It is all manipulation of language to suit a particular group's interest, just like we've seen in our motherland. So should we be fearful? I say no, because once you know the truth of the agenda of the powers that be, you know better or how to equip yourself by applying the knowledge. Thankfully, we have UNN TV and all the other platforms that you may find knowledgeable, something that you can take away. If you're able to take away the knowledge and apply it, you know that what you're on about or what you're doing is on the right path. Do you need to also reprogram yourself? For instance, how in terms of education, investing in self-improvement, acquiring new skills on how to do maybe free resources, reading online, radical life changes, living simply rather than keeping up with the Joneses. Rethink values. What is most important to you now? This is what I would like for all of us to think, that this is what like I talk about on this show, being self-purposeful and intentional, knowing what you need to know, leave that which you don't need to know, and put in action that which you have come to know. Focus. We keep our eyes on the prize, the revolution, federal system, self-sustainability. What can you do with the skills you have right now to be autonomous, to be free from being an employee, to being an entrepreneur or whatever. I know it is challenging. It is very challenging. So purposeful, what is it? You need to be able to say, I am taking this action because I want to achieve this. That is purposeful. It's not haphazard. You plan. Just like we're planning on the revolution of Uganda, we want the UFCC, the forum, the dialogue to be able to achieve our ultimate goal. That is freedom. That is the federal system of governance. We are not haphazardly, just like we saw 2 years ago, and we continue to see with the leaderships or the politicians, may I say, anything goes, anything goes, nothing is purposeful. Jumping on the wagon. So when we're purposeful, then we are intentional. We have intended. Intentional, you intend to do something. Therefore, you have a strategy, you have a plan, just like we have had. UNN started, is intended to do a particular job role, and this is what we continue to do. And I know many people might say, what is the purpose of this show? But until you change your mindset, your perception, you will continue to do the same thing over and over, and that is madness. So food for thought. Food for thought. Or before I go there, but like the intentional, the purposeful meaning, I hope that that's a little bit clear what it is. And you can, of course, do your own research as well. But it can be challenging, I know, to see what I'm saying being achievable or related to your own life. So how does this really relate to our own circumstances, our experience of our world, our perception? Imagine growing up with traumatic experiences of war, for instance. We grew up with traumatic experiences of war, lamenting poor leadership, dictatorships, not caring much about our immediate surroundings. It was more about, or it's been more about corruption, embezzlement, bribes. This way of life, of living, has really embedded on our subconscious mind. It's like a stamp. It has embedded, even if you wanted to forget, but because it's on autopilot, our subconscious mind is on autopilot. Just a reminder, this is the part of our mind that stores all our memories, our childhood experiences that we have grown up experiencing. So some of it you might not remember now, but it is on autopilot. Your behavior now, the leaders perhaps that we have, the contributing to corruption, the bribes, this manifests in adulthood, in our actions, behavior, and it guides us in our day to day. If you remember, when we started this show last year, we learned about Sigmund Freud's iceberg theory. So if you missed it, please go back into our video archives. You will see from episode 1, The Revolutionary Spark, our subconscious mind is the autopilot of our behavior. It guides or it dictates at least 95% of the time. Therefore, if our past experiences are full of traumatic experiences, like we've seen the war, then our perception will be about war. We will think of going to war probably in the first instance. That is the instinct we will have, to act out that way. So if we are to change our life, our behavior, now we work on bringing our subconscious into the conscious. So because we are in the state of mind of traumatic experiences, war, corruption, and substandard care, and we are used to, our mind is on autopilot because we have become complacent. So our state of mind, I believe most of us lack the thought process to form the emotion that truly leads to desired results. This is one of a South African motivational speaker, Candice Mama, put it. Thoughts form emotion. So if our thoughts are wrong, our emotion from it is not going to be the right emotion. It is also going to be wrong. It's probably going to be reactionary. It's going to be overreact when we don't need to overreact. It's not going to be regulated very well. Just like you see, when perhaps maybe someone continues to say our president, when clearly someone is not the president of the country, what makes them still think that our president, our elected president, he is my president, but in actual reality, the fact remains is that someone else is the president, not who they say is. I'm not going to mention names going into this political wrangle, but you know what I mean. Those UNNians who are here, you know what I mean. Thoughts form emotion, emotion forms action, actions form results. So we are in the action phase, and we are hopeful that we are indeed going to form results. Thankfully, UNN TV came, and we have had the knowledge. We are relearning. We are forming new thoughts. We have formed new thoughts, and we continue to form new thoughts from the knowledge that has been shared on this platform, and we will be able to put into actions and get the results we need. And I'm hopeful we will get the UFCC, we'll get the dialogue going. I'm going to stop here for now. Let's go into a short break, and when we come back, I go into the war within. This is the main topic today, as I've just, briefly given you a little thoughts, food for thought, and also just something that I have seen. I'm reflecting on what I have seen for the past months. And welcome to the Revolutionary Spur. Again, my name's Sophia Sebi, the host. Welcome. This is UNN TV Live.
accompany the federal system of governance in Uganda. And what is federalism? Federal is a system of governance. It's not about getting rid of the central government. It's not about party politics. It's not about multi-partisan or absence of it. It's not about religious differences. It's not about tribalism. It is not for the benefit of Uganda alone. It's not about monarchism. It's not about land or dispossessing people from land. It is not about supremacy of one region over another or others. It's about helping the central government to provide services more efficiently and provide more effective development to the people. It's about sharing power and responsibilities between the central government and regional governments. Federalism is about providing more prosperity, more wealth, more feeling of belonging and participation in governance by marginalized and non-marginalized people. The federal system of government minimizes possibilities of waging war against the central government. It minimizes internal acts of terrorism and discontent against the central government. It has inbuilt safeguards that ensure uniform growth for all regions of the country, and additional measures to make sure that the marginalized or less developed regions of the country can catch up through the system of equalization grants and affirmative action programs. This ensures that the regions with greater income and development contribute a percentage of their earnings to the developed areas which may be less developed. It should be noted that federalism, though different from decentralization, does not contradict or exclude decentralization. The two systems can and should coexist and complement each other at the regional level. Advocating federal does not mean or seek to get rid of decentralization from regional tier, nor does it mean getting rid of district MPs, LC leaders, or other regional government officials. To learn more about federalism, register and join UFCC at www.ufcc.uk.
Welcome back. And as always, I'm your host, Sophia Sebi. And this is the Revolutionary Spur and the Self-Purposeful Action This show is about our mindset. This show is about helping ourselves to think differently, to have a different perception. And this show is usually in the English language. You will forgive me if you cannot sort of, you know, get exactly what I'm saying, but I'm hoping that a friend of a friend and a friend of a friend will help you translate. I wish I could be more conversant in the Luganda language, but I am not. I am learning to hopefully, have a full conversation of Luganda, but I'm not at present. I will. Not that I've forgotten Luganda. I know I can converse clearly, but I think in order for me to articulate myself clearly and to have feeling and emotion of exactly what I want to say, I do find it much better in the English language. So, our topic today is about unresolved feelings, business. It is the war within. But before I go to that show, let me welcome the people that have just joined us. And I'm predominantly on Facebook, so you'll forgive me if you just joined from any other platform, like YouTube, you know, I'm not sure if we're on radio, but on Twitter, on other platforms. I will say hello to Chrislyn. Is it Chrislyn Ronald Kawemba, Samula Matthias? I think I've said Amiri Kauma already. Sylvia Nankabira, did I say that already? Narubega Sisi, welcome. Namatovumili, welcome. Shatra Shimi, welcome. Nakanyike Topista, welcome. Lubo Mwanga, right? Welcome. Luboyela Edward, welcome. I think that's about it. But welcome to the Revolutionary Spa, and I hope that you enjoy the show and you learn a thing or two. This is not for everybody. I understand that, and that's okay. The few that are learning, you will share. Each one, teach one, right? Like we were, probably discussing on the show this morning, it was around each one teach one. And yes, you know, I hope that you can pass on the information, and those that are not here will be here next time. Share with your family, with your friends, share the video, like the page, so that we can have a more, maybe wider dialogue. But as we go into our show today, it is about the war within. What did I mean by that? The war within. As we want change, we often see this change outside of ourselves, right? By looking to others. We usually look to others. Let's say, or you blame someone else for something that's going wrong in your life. You blame the environment. We blame the environment. Someone else, others. That's what I mean. Or the circumstances. But if we need the much needed change that we need, it means that we must face the war within. Sometimes that can be, it is spiritual, sometimes it's psychological, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it can even be physical. You stand in the mirror, look back at yourself, and say, why am I here? That is the war within, that you're starting with yourself. You ask, why am I here? Why am I doing this? This is the war within I am talking about. There is no smoke without fire. It's time for self-check, right? So I'm going to base my topic today on a topic that might be sensitive to all of us. This is a topic about the Bintus. Dr. Chihombore Kwa said in a speech that we, the Bintus, and the Bintus, I mean, we that have been to the diaspora, we have an attitude. The attitude of we have arrived. We know it all, or too good for that, or too good for this. Sometimes this war within, it can be really difficult. It can be challenging to come to terms with. It can be hurtful. It can be painful. So let's go within ourselves and get that fight, that inner war within, so that we can set ourselves free. I know I have had the war within, but if you have had the war within and you are fighting it and not wanting to really attack it head on, then the mindset shift that you want, the revolutionary mindset, the transformation, the transfiguration that you want to show up in the new or revolutionized Uganda, it is not going to be there. Everything that you would have done, the times that you would have been on UNN, the many hours you would have spent watching the long shows, if you do not tackle the war within, it is pointless, because what will happen is that you will have this information, that we share here every day, that you get from others, and yet you will go back straight back to the same way you were. And what are we getting? We will get the poor leadership. You might be in a position of power because you did not tackle the war within. It will be back to square one. So if you do need to psychologically get some help, you need some counseling, you need to get those demons out, whatever they may be, do so. And this is the time that we are working on ourselves to show up in this revolutionized Uganda that we want. Because remember, people make up communities and communities make up country. So some Bantus don't believe the deeper national issues of their motherland, that they have anything to do with them or with us. As long as we come back once in a while to enjoy an environment we hardly take care of or invest in. When I talk about investment, it is not only in monetary terms, it is the intangible things like informal education at home or community. I have worked out like 4 categories. They're categories of these Bantus, of us, the Bantus. I've been to US, I've been to Dubai, I've been to London, you've been to the political, there's a category 1, right? Anyway, let me go back a little bit. The war within, I quote here, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. This is an African proverb. Perhaps we need to learn from a bit of our African wisdom. Look within yourself if you ought to change your circumstances. If we ought to change, if we want to change our circumstances, the Ugandan situation, we need to look within. And sometimes it's going to be hurtful. You don't want to accept that you have been the causation. You have contributed to where we are now. I know. But anyway, I have 4 categories of the people, the Bantus. We have the political, who left many years ago. Then we have the offsprings of the political refugees, Abasama, usually. The culturally confused, Abasama is the culturally confused, lost, who somewhat have a nice life in the diaspora and only value their country for holidays, not investing. Then you have category 3. I wonder if we can move along with the slides in terms of what I'm saying. We've got the Bintus, category 3, the economic Bintus. These are people who only think that life is about accumulating things, money. We clock up as many shifts as possible within the shortest period of time and build the biggest mansion, a business, etc., and enjoy life with little input in the environment. Just chop the money, right? When I talk about environment, I mean Uganda, like the environment of our motherland. You can agree with me or not, but it's sort of my reflection on where we all sit in our categories. We've got the category 1 where, like I said, the political who left many years ago, but they often once in a while go back to Uganda, but they really want to go back to Uganda, but they can't go back because the situation is not conducive. Then we have category 2 where the offsprings of the people that left many years ago, which you used to call the Abasama, culturally confused, they're lost. And they somewhat have a nice life in the diaspora and only value their country for holidays, not investing. Then you have the economic Bintus who only think that life is about accumulating things, money, building all the high rise and, wanting that best, but don't care about the environment around them. They just want to enjoy their money, bring the flashy cars and all of that. Then you have category 4, those that have sold their pride, soul even, their worth, their confidence to keep up with category 3, the economic Bintus, because they have seen what the category 3 is doing, building mansions, having flashy cars, having the latest shoe, having the latest bag, doing whatever, having the life, going to boat rides and stuff, but with great difficulty. Because category 3 sees category 4 as the money-making machine, will make sure they do not return. Category 4, for instance, our brothers and sisters in the Arab countries who are sacrificing their worth, their confidence, their pride, they've sold everything just so they can keep up with category 3 and maybe 2. Category 3 is taking great risks or greater risks and end up being exploited, enslaved body, mind, and spirit, that with such high negative energy, you see little or no results back home. Whatever you do, the money, someone steals your money because of this sort of hopelessness, because of the hunger for accumulating this money, you end up actually not keeping the money. And money is energy. If you have the negative energy about being envious, being wanting someone else's life or dream, you attract negativity into your life. Hence the reason you see that maybe perhaps your money doesn't add up as much as it should. When you left 2-3 years ago, you sold everything, but you did not do it in good faith, but because you did it for the hunger of what you see around you from category 3, the economic Bintus who are flashing their money because they came from maybe embezzling that money, stealing, or bribing, or whatever they did to accumulate that money and return home. They have flushed this money so much that you are hungry. And this is resulting into frustration and traumatized you emotionally, psychologically. And being in that space, it's very difficult for you to accumulate that money, and money will be going, and you will have people stealing from you, wanting to steal from you to exploit you, not because you're not working hard. And that is evidence that working hard is not building wealth. And then you have the category 5, the never been tos, who are busy selling off whatever thing is of value, chasing the gold somewhere else. By the way, whilst category 3 is making money off category 4 or buying off every piece of their land at the lowest price and selling it to the imposter, the foreigner, at the highest price to make yet more money without the care of how this will impact on their future generation. This, to me, this example of category 1 to 5, this goes back to a story of a farmer who sold off his land to look for gold or diamonds elsewhere, when in actual fact, they were right under his feet all along. So this is a call for me to you who are selling off, thinking you're going for pastures new, fighting with this war within. The grass is not greener on the other side. So which category are you? Of the bintus and never bintus do you fall? Which category? Where in your life are you and want to be? So what do we do? What do we do with this situation? I mean, research shows the history repeats itself. Unless we are consciously being purposeful and intentional, wanting to make change, 90% of the time, a human being is predictable on how they will turn out in adulthood. That is what research suggests, depending on the parenting they received or their upbringing or the environment. Remember the 7-year rule, what I said before, that from 0 to 7 years old, this is when you have formed your subconscious or your thoughts, and this is how you would, the memories that you take into your adulthood. So I'm sure many of you have seen the categories 1, 2, 3 show off. And therefore, this is your wanting to, thinking that going, selling off everything. Well, the good news is history is not destiny. Dr. Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson, you can Google them. They say why? Research shows that history repeats itself unless we consciously make a change. We consciously, intentionally, purposefully make a change. So how are we going to do that? Reprogramming our mind to do differently, to serve ourselves, family, and community, to raise good, grounded, confident leaders. We, the parents, you, the wannabe parents, start here, now, today. No excuse, period. So once in a better mindset, then family, neighbor, community, nation, society, and humanity will transform beyond our imagination. So don't underestimate yourself, your power, your God-given power. I know you might blame yourself for where you are now. Don't. It is your upbringing that made your mindset think that way. And this is why I am here every day, today, on this program to help you change that by seeing the things that are limiting your thinking, your life from progressing. And remember, progressing is, please, not only tangible, it's not about material things, but it's about the knowledge you acquire. And once your mindset changes, all the riches that you desire in your life are in your mind. It's not about running to another country to accumulate, because I'm sure many of you have lamented about how you're not being paid enough. You've not been able to save enough. That is an example that going somewhere else is not necessarily the solution. It is not easy. Yes, I know. I have been there. I am there. I fight with this war within every day, that my mindset, first of all, is the rich mindset. Before I accumulate the Lamborghini, before I accumulate the Rolls Royce, before I accumulate the big mansion, the mindset, because you can still have the mansion, you can run and build a big mansion, you can run and accumulate all those things. As long as your mindset is still the same, you can lose it all. So what helps me, as I conclude, what helps me to really get my mindset to fight this war within? Prayer, meditation, some silence. Go and have silence. If you need to go, for instance, maybe desert, I don't know, but you can have a desert right where you are. Go into yourself. Be grateful, gratitude for your life, no matter what the day-to-day challenges. Giving, be grateful to others. Give, if whatever you can, without expecting anything in return. Invest in yourself. It's very, 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 very easy to keep asking others to give you, but what have you given in return? Remember the law of attraction, the law of life. Nothing is for free. Nothing. Nothing. So when you pray and your prayers are not answered or taking longer to be answered, you need to take inventory about what you have done in the past, what you're continuing to do now. We need to pray and take on these behaviors, because even if we are praying so hard for UFCC to be finalized, even if we're praying so hard for the federal system to come into play, to come into force, without our changing our mindset, our behavior, thoughts make things. Without our starting from your neighbor, it will not go on to be long lasting. It will not. So we need to invest in ourselves to change, transform, transfigure completely. Learning, attending a course or learning a new skill, researching, reading every day, supporting others' ventures or activities, instead of being ill maybe having ill thought towards someone else's achievements, be grateful. Take on these new behaviors every day. Be grateful for others for achieving. It is not a competition. You are the only person in competition with yourself. You are not in competition with everybody else. You focus on yourself within, and then everything around you will come to fruition. And of course, you need to be with like-minded people, the people that don't serve you or are not on your journey to transform, letting go of valuing material things, money than yourself, than others. I know it is not easy because this is what is in our subconscious mind. It takes a long time to unlearn the negative behaviors or the behaviors that we learned from a young age. It is difficult, it is challenging, but it's not achieve. It is achievable. We can achieve this. Remember, the battle starts within the mindset, then the thought comes, then the emotion, then the action. So let us start to take seriously what we've learned over the past 2 years to now. Ban the thoughts that you have held, ban the thoughts that have held you hostage and kept you in bondage. Ban the thoughts or eyes that have limited you seeing beyond the ordinary into the extraordinary. The extraordinary is your mind. Ban the behavior that has limited your capability. Ban the limiting thinking and say no more to enslavement of your mind. Ban the mindset that has made you hunger for glittery things that you fail to see the diamonds under your feet. Take authority in our perception. We need to take authority using our intuition, not always taking on others' ideas. You were made in God's image, each one of us. Therefore, we have our individual ideas. Yes, you can support other ideas if they have the same values as what you would like, but you do not need to copy and paste. This is why when we copy and paste, we are not our authentic selves. So we need to start, we die to ourselves to take on a new self, so to speak, to be reborn, to reprogram, to reinvent, revolutionize. This is the revolutionary change. This is truly being revolutionary for radical transformation. This is the revolutionary spatial, self-purposeful action. As I conclude, as always, I'm your host, Sophia Sebi, also known as the African Parent Buddy. If you've seen my posts going around, check out my page, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Sophia Sebi, the African Parent Buddy. Like it, comment, share for weekly inspirational, motivational, and empowering messages or reflections with my thoughts of the day. I appreciate you all who have commented and liked the page. Here on UNN tonight with us. You inspire me to continue going. I hope that this is my way of appreciating you. Remember, we grow by lifting each other. No man is an island. Remember, tonight we have a show coming up, This and That. How can we forgive our detractors? Don't miss it. If you must, only if you must, but do not miss it. With one of our own, Madame Elizabeth and Prince Paul Chimbugwe. But my concluding remarks, food for thought, we grow by lifting each other. No man is an island. Remember, if we don't look after our own, self, mind, body, and spirit and community, someone else will. And we have seen where that has got us so far. You just have to look around you, our society, our community, our mindsets. You just have to look in you, at you, around you, and see what is happening to our motherland. Also remember, your spirit is your first home, then the physical world. Let us look after self mindset and not neglect our physical home to our motherland, Uganda. Each one, teach one. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share our page and program with your friends, family. They will thank you later. So good evening, good morning. Lessons from lessons from the African, from our African wisdom. No person is born great. Great people become great when others are sleeping. No person is born great. Great people become great when others are sleeping. This is the African proverb. Have a great night. Enjoy this and that. I will see you next week. Until then, this is the Revolutionary Spark Self-Purposeful Action. Ciao. Adios. Muedaba. How do you say in Swahili? Not sure what you say, but anyway, bye and good night. Good evening. Thank you.